إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بهديه ودعا بدعوته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, I'm sure everybody has an idea what the reason why I got up and changed my clothes. Not because wearing this is obligatory or mandatory, or I couldn't speak in what I was wearing before, but from learning knowledge and from teaching knowledge is to try your best to have the proper etiquettes of learning and teaching. From being a successful seeker of knowledge and from being a successful teacher of knowledge is you try your best to learn and adhere to the do's and the don'ts. And sometimes those do's and those don'ts can take you a very long way. And you may have just a little bit of information or limited knowledge with a lot of etiquettes, a lot of adab, and that can make you more beneficial to the people. And it can allow your words to fly further and spread even greater distances. And a person may have a whole slew and arsenal of information and of sound bites, quote-unquote knowledge, but with poor etiquettes, poor manners, not the right do's and don'ts, from the greatest of them being respect for knowledge. And his words will barely get off the ground. His words will barely get off the ground. So from those etiquettes and from those do's and don'ts is that when a person wishes to give a talk or give a speech, when a person wishes to mention hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, is that he should act as if he was sitting in front of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. And if I was sitting in front of the Messenger of Allah, if any of you were sitting in front of the Messenger of Allah, surely you would try to look your best. You would try to present yourself in the best fashion, in the most presentable, Islamic, neat, nice fashion. So that is the only reason why I did what I did. And many of my teachers, they would do this, and they taught us to do this from the earlier scholars of Islam, such as Imam Malik, rahimahullah, the great Imam from the four Imams who lived in Medina in the 2nd century of Islam, the 2nd century of the Hijrah. Before he went out to the Prophet's masjid and had his halaqah of hadith, he would take a bath, he would comb his hair, he would perfume himself, he would put on the best clothes that he had. And one day one of his companions asked him, "Why are you doing this? You're just going to teach a class." He said, "Ujillu bihi hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam." He says, "This is my way of showing respect to Muhammad's hadith, as if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in front of me." So that's the only reason why I did what I did. Everybody clear on that? Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
Now, before we get into what we get into, or getting into what we're going to get into, Wahid, I noticed something that you did earlier. You didn't think that I was watching you, but I was watching you. And you may not realize that I was paying close attention to what you were doing. Do you remember what you were doing? It's earlier, before Maghrib time, after Asr. I was sitting, talking. Someone had a question and you were doing something. You remember what it was?
Yeah, we did the backyard.
Good. What were you doing in the backyard?
We was looking after the sheep.
Looking after the sheep. Taya, what did you have with you when you went and got the sheep?
I said,
What did you have in your hand? What did you go get?
cutlass.
Okay, what was the cutlass for?
And this is about because only back custom something.
Cut down some bushes
Yeah.
and gather the sheep, right?
Yeah.
Taya, very important thing now. And it has a direct connection to what I want to talk about right now. And that is what the Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic tradition. مَا بَعَثَ اللَّهُ مِن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا كَانَ رَاعِيَ غَنَمٍ. He says every single prophet that Allah sent, Musa, Isa, our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, every prophet that Allah sent used to be a sheep or goat herder, used to be a shepherd. Every time Allah sent a prophet, before he received prophecy, or one point in time in his life, he was someone who looked after these animals. And it's a reason why He looked after those animals. And it's a reason why Allah made the best of His creation to look after those animals. And that is because what I've noticed, and what we all know, is when you're gathering sheep or goat, especially with those that are young, is that you have to have two main characteristics. And if you don't have these two main characteristics, then you're not going to successfully gather the sheep or goat. The first is you must be stern. The second is you must be soft and gentle. You have to be soft and gentle, and you have to be stern. If you're too loose, too slow, if you do not tell and teach those animals that it's time to go, what are they going to do? They're going to scatter about. They're going to continue to graze. They're going to get lost. And if you're too harsh, or too violent, or too hasty, you may injure the animal. Is this not the case? Or you may cause that poor sheep or that poor goat to flee even further. So as if the good shepherd, the good herder has a balance. When it's time to go, no more eating. It's time to go this way. And when to be soft and when to be gentle. And this is a staple characteristic in a prophet. And it's a staple characteristic in the shepherd of the home. Whether it's the father or the mother. The grandfather or the grandmother. The husband or the wife. There are times in which you must be stern. And if you're not stern, and if you're always soft and lax and kind and forbearing and turning the other cheek, those sheep are going to do what? They're going to scatter. In other words, the people that you're Islamically responsible for, they're going to Islamically scatter. The children are not going to do their responsibilities. If you're not firm in the proper time with your husband, he's not going to fulfill his proper Islamic obligations. And the list goes on of examples. And if you're too harsh, if you're too mean, if you're too iron-fisted, not only will they not listen to you, but it will push them further away from you. Is that not the case? So there's a balance. Now let's go back to the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, مَا بَعَثَ اللَّهُ مِن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا كَانَ رَأْيَ غَنَمٍ. He says Allah has never sent a prophet except that prophet used to be someone who looks after goat and sheep. I've just explained to you why. There's another authentic hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَا كَانَ مِن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا كَانَ حَقٌ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَدُلَّ أُمَّتَهُ عَلَى خَيْرِ مَا يَعْلَمُهُ لَهُمْ وَمَا كَانَ مِن نَبِيٍّ إِلَّا كَانَ حَقًّا عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يَدُلَّ أُمَّتَهُ أو أن يحذر أو ينذر أمته من شر ما يعلمه لهم. The hadith says that every single prophet that Allah sent, he had two main responsibilities. And the first responsibility was to teach his ummah and to steer his nation in the direction of that which was good for them. That which he knew was good for them. And the second responsibility was for him to push his ummah, to grab his nation and to pull them away from that which he knew was bad for them. Just like the shepherd. You're not allowed to go graze over there because that's dangerous. There's poison in that grass. There are dangerous animals behind that boundary. And also steer them in the direction of the good, nutritious pasture. I just said about the grass. What's the name of the grass? The grass that's good for the cows. That is the responsibility of the shepherd. Abdullah ibn Umar narrates in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim that the Prophet ﷺ said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ فَالْإِمَامُ رَاعٍ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ وَالرَّجُلُ رَاعٍ وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ أَهْلِهِ أو عن رعيته أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام والمرأة راعية في بيتها وهي مسؤولة عن مال زوجها والعبد راع وهو مسؤول عن مال سيده وكلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. The Prophet, he says in this narration that each and every one of you is a shepherd. Each and every one of you is someone who looks after goats and sheep. And each and every one of you is going to be asked by Allah, questioned by Allah about your flock, your herd, about your goat and your sheep. Allah is going to ask you about what you did with those animals. The Prophet, he then tells us, and he Imam, in other words, the Khalifa, the sultan, the leader of the Muslim country, is a shepherd. And he's going to be asked about his subjects. He says, and a man is a shepherd. And he's going to be asked about his household. Allah is going to ask you about your wife. He's going to ask you about your daughter. He's going to ask you about your son, your granddaughter, your grandson, your son-in-law, everyone in your house, everything that happens in your house, everything that goes down in your house, Allah is going to ask you concerning that. And what is going to be your answer? What is going to be your answer if you allowed your flock to go off and to wander? If you gave them something which was bad and harmful, what is going to be your answer? The Prophet, he then says, and a woman is a shepherd in her home, and she's going to be asked and questioned about her household and the wealth of her husband. Did you waste your husband's wealth? Did you greedily eat your husband's wealth? Did you protect your husband's honor in his absence? Did you fulfill his commands in his absence? Did you advise your husband to do that which is right and to do that which is good? Wake your husband up for the Salah and say, husband, I love you, husband. You're the best husband, but we can't do this. We can't continue to live like this. And any other example that you want to think about. And the Prophet, ﷺ, he goes on to mention to the end of this hadith. Notice carefully how the Prophet ﷺ gave the general rule, and then he made specifics. He says that all of you are shepherds. That's enough. Included in the word all of you is everything, man, woman, and child. Imam, leader, and the list goes on. But then he left no room for ambiguity. He left no room for doubtness, for dubiousness, for vagueness. He says imam, man, woman, even a servant, a slave, is going to be asked about his flock. So this is a paramount hadith, brothers and sisters. And it teaches us that we all have responsibilities. And it isn't from wisdom for me to point the finger at you or you and neglect my own responsibilities. If I have a problem with my wife, I shouldn't reflect always on her shortcomings and her faults. Rather, I myself should look in the mirror first. What am I doing that's not best? What am I doing that is good? What am I doing of kindness and of mercy? The Prophet tells us, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. He says, the best of you are those who are best to their wives, and I'm the best from among you to my wives. The Prophet ﷺ, he tells us that you are a shepherd. Before you point the finger at your husband and his shortcomings and his flaws and his problems, are you the best wife? Are you the most pious wife? Are you the most righteous wife? Your day revolves around who? Yourself, your children, your girlfriends, or pleasing your husband. Children, my parents are unfair. My mother's unfair. My father's unfair. He doesn't give me enough. He hollers at me. He doesn't treat me kindly. So on and so forth. Are you the best son? Are you the best daughter? Are you the best grandchild? If we sat down and we asked them about how you behave in the house, what would they tell us? The concept is in Islam, you have to look at yourself firstly. Once you do that consistently, for some time, and you strive hard, then you move on, you speak about your spouse, your son, your father, etc. And you give them nasiha, you give advice. You enjoin the good and you forbid the evil. And the greatest thing that you are to teach your family about is the purpose of their creation. That's the greatest responsibility. Not feeding them, not sheltering them. The greatest thing is what? Is to teach your family and remind your family about the purpose of their creation. Sit down with your son. Son, it's okay to play sports. It's okay to go to college. It's okay to work. It's okay to like this and like that. But you're a Muslim. And the only reason why you are alive is to worship Allah. That's it. So if you realize this, son, then everything that you do in life should revolve and orbit around that purpose of creation. You're going to school to get a good job. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't forget, that's not the reason why you're alive. You have friends. You play cricket and soccer. That's okay. But that's not the reason why you're alive. And the same applies to your daughters. And we can go on and on, husband and wife, and the list goes on. So why are you alive, son? Why did Allah make you? What is Tawheed? What does Tawheed mean? What is the types of Tawheed? What is the virtues of Tawheed? Tawheed means for you to single Allah out in everything that you do. Your prayer should only be for Allah. And if you don't pray, then how can you pray for Allah? If you don't pray, how can you even fall into shirk? You don't even pray. How can you be a Muslim that does not pray? The Prophet ﷺ, he tells us, Al-ahdu ladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah, faman tarakaha faqad kafara. He says, the fine line between us and them, the non-Muslims, is the prayer. And those who do not pray have made disbelief. So no matter what you're going through, no matter how stressed out you may be, no matter how upset you may be, no matter how much oppression you may be going through, there is no one that can ever come between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is why in the 7th chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-A'raf, Allah tells us about Shaitan, Iblis, and how he made him, how he was in paradise, how he was among the angels. Allah told him to prostrate and he refused. He didn't make sujood to Adam. He says, I'm better than Adam. You made me from fire, you made him from dirt and clay. Allah says, leave this place. فَمَا يَكُونُ لَكَ أَن تَتَكَبَّرَ فِيهَا فَاخْرُجْ إِنَّكَ مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. He says, it is unbefitting for you to be haughty and prideful in paradise. So leave in disgrace and humiliation. That cursed devil, he gave a promise to Allah, Ar-Rahman, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, I swear by you, O Allah, لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ. He says, I will approach them. I will come to them from in front, from behind, from the right, and from the left. But Shaitan did not say from above. And the reason why he never said that is that no one can ever cut the relation between you and Allah. No one. And that is the concept of the Salah. Whatever you're going through, making Salah is going to make it better. Whatever you're going through, if you do not pray, it's only going to make it worse. Rather, when something happens to you, the first thing you should do is run to the Salah. Brush your teeth. Make a perfect wudu. Cover yourself and pray. Put your face on the ground. Oh Allah, help me. Oh Allah, give me strength. Oh Allah, give me patience. Oh Allah, make me better. Oh Allah, allow me to leave off this and leave off that bad habit and leave off this addiction. Oh Allah, guide my husband. Oh Allah, bless my husband. Oh Allah, make my wife righteous. That's the first thing that we should do is the Salah. And if you do not pray, as Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, when he was leading the Salah, he was the Khalifa of the Muslims. And this man who wasn't a Muslim, he was a munafiq. He was a hidden kafir. He acted like he accepted Islam, but he was not a Muslim. Rather, he still worshipped fire. He was a Majusi. He got into the rows and he hit a dagger, and he put poison on the dagger, if my memory serves me correctly. He stood in the Salah and he waited for Umar to lead the Salah. And we all know Umar's submissiveness and his humbleness in the Salah. He was reciting Salah. The man ran up to him and he stabbed him and he poked him violently, viciously. One narration says 16 times. And another narration says 9 times. Has anyone ever been stabbed before? You know how it feels to get stabbed? Not punched, not shot, but stabbed. The pain of being stabbed by a knife. So Umar radiallahu anhu, obviously he fell down unconscious. And then Abdurrahman ibn Auf, before he fell down, he put him up to lead the Salah. Just think about this. So they took Umar radiallahu anhu out the masjid and they rushed him to the house. And this was before there was an ambulance. This was before there were modern means of medicine and technology. And they sat him down in the house. And then when he finally came out of his coma, do you know the first thing Umar said? He didn't ask about his wife, his beloved wife, his beautiful daughter or son, his camels and his sheep and his gold and his sword and his no possessions. He asked Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, did you guys finish Salat al-Fajr? That's what he asked them. Imagine after being stabbed all of those times, unconscious. The first thing he wanted to know was, did you finish Fajr? And Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, yes, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, we finished the Fajr Salah. He said, أَلَا إِنَّهُ لَا حَظَّ لِأَحَدٍ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ. He says, those who do not pray have no portion in Islam. They have nothing in the hereafter. So just think about how serious this is. How many of us delay the Salah, don't pray at all, don't pray in congregation? This man was stabbed. He was stabbed so bad that there was a hole in his belly. And yet still he asked about the Salah. And we can go on and on and on and on and on about the importance of the Salah. So from the greatest ways of keeping the family ties together and keeping them strong is to pray together. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, "La taj'alu buyutakum qubura." He says, do not make your homes, do not turn your homes into graveyards. Another version of this hadith says, اجعلوا من صلاتكم في بيوتكم ولا تجعلوها قبورا. He says, make some of your prayers at home and do not make your homes into graveyards. What's meant by this is that the Muslim man should pray in the masjid. He should not pray his fard salah at home. Dhuhr, Asr, Fajr should be made in congregation in the masjid. But at the same time, don't forget to pray occasionally in your house. The sunnah prayers, the recommended prayers. And the benefit of that, first and foremost, is that you bring light to your house, nur. Secondly, when you enter your home, you make salah, your wife can see you. And if she was delaying her prayer or she was preoccupied with something, you remind her of the salah now, without having to say anything to her. Look how beautiful that is. Perhaps if you say something to her, she'll turn away from you. But she sees you praying, and if she has any goodness in her heart, she's automatically going to say, oh, now it's time for me to make fard. He went to the masjid, he's tired, he was working, and he's making extra salats. So how come I be comfortable in the house, cool, and not pray? The next benefit of making the extra prayers in the house is your young children get to see you praying. They learn how to pray. They learn that there is prayer, and they know that their father is righteous. Their father is righteous. In other words, the graveyard is not a place for prayer. So the Prophet says, do not make your homes like what? Like a graveyard. Another very important point when it comes to being a shepherd and leading your family, as we said in the beginning of the talk, is not to be too soft and not to be too harsh. But if your family member is doing something which is unlawful, it is your Islamic obligation to give them the nasiha. You don't have to be nasty and rude and mean. You don't have to disrespect no one. But to keep silent 100% is unlawful. There is no turn the other cheek in Islam. Speak to them in private. Give them a letter. Give them a book. If you're afraid, talk to them in a good way, a good manner. Find the best time to speak to your husband and give him advice. Find the best time to speak to your wife. Or someone else can give her advice if she doesn't want to listen to you in any other scenario. So therefore, you must give them the beneficial knowledge. Advise them. Command them to do that which is good. And at the same time, you have to be gentle. And it is not upon you to force someone to do something that they don't want to do. The only thing that you can do is give advice. The only thing that you can do is discipline them in your means. You can't go outside today. You're on punishment. I'm not giving you no money. You can't go nowhere until you make your salats, until you wear your hijab, until so on and so forth. So therefore, just like the goats wide, you have to get on your feet. You have to move. You have to gather them up. Go, yalla. Go into the pen. But not too harsh. There's a what? There's a balance. So therefore, in a healthy Muslim home, there is not to be any backbiting, talking about people behind their backs. I hate such and such is this, and fulana is this, and he's like that, and this and that. No, that doesn't exist in a Muslim home. Spreading lies doesn't exist in a Muslim home. Hating your Muslim brother, let alone your family member, that should not exist in a Muslim home. Evil actions, stealing, jealousy and envy, being unfair, being unjust, blindly taking this person's side just because that's your favorite child, or your favorite niece, or your favorite granddaughter or grandson. That doesn't exist in an Islamic home. Allah tells us to speak the truth even if it's upon ourselves. What do we benefit from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam? Is never ever to take someone of your children or your grandchildren or your niece or your nephews and make them the absolute favorite and always display and show that. You may have a favorite. You can't control that. Allah's giving you one heart in your chest, not two. It's natural to have a favorite child. It's natural to have a favorite niece. But it doesn't mean that you have to show and give everyone the message that this is my favorite son and treat him better and give him privileges and get him out of hot water when he's clearly in hot water. Why not? Not only is it wrong, but it's going to cause hasad. They want to have envy and jealousy. And they want to say, I hate Abby. Look how he treats Fulan. He didn't give me anything, he gives him everything. He's dead wrong, caught red-handed doing something bad, and he lets him go. And as soon as I do something, he hollers at me and he jumps down my neck. That's going to cause envy. That's going to cause malice. And that's from the greatest, most harmful emotions is envy. It's envy. Waliyadhu billah. And that was the sickness of the Jews, and also the sickness of Iblis, hasad, envy. Being upset that someone else has something that you don't have. So therefore, you're making your children be envious to each other if you have a favorite and you show it. You may have a favorite. You may like someone. He may look like you more. This one may be the best Muslim from your children, or the brightest, the quickest, the most obedient, the most respectful, the most helpful to you, but you do not have to necessarily show it. Everybody understand this? When Yusuf was the favorite of his father, his brothers, they did what? They plotted against him to get rid of him. Everybody understand this? These things should not exist in the Muslim home. So people not making salah, people doing bad things with bad people, going different places. It doesn't exist. Alcohol, drinking, these things don't exist in a Muslim home. A Muslim home is not a perfect home. Everybody has mistakes, as the Prophet tells us. But the best of those who make mistakes are those who make repentance. The best of those who make mistakes are those who make abundant repentance. And as it states in the famous proverb, if you fall down 7 times, get up 8 times. If you fall down 7 times, get up an 8th time. Keep moving forward. No one is perfect. However, an Islamic household is to be, as the Prophet ﷺ said, speaking about the similitude of the believers and their mutual mercy and their mutual affection and their mutual kindness. He says, كَالْجَسَدِ الْوَاحِدِ إِذَا اشْتَكَى مِنْهُ عُضْوٌ تَدَاعَى لَهُ سَائِرُ الْجَسَدِ بِالسَّهْرِ وَالْحُمَّةِ. And the authentic hadith states is that they're like one body. When one part, one limb, one organ suffers, the rest of the body experiences sleeplessness and fever. In other words, if your niece is going through something, you should feel it. If your husband had a rough day at work, you should feel it. If something is bothering this one or bothering that one, it should be seen, it should be noticed. What's the matter? What's bothering you? Talk. What's the problem? I did something wrong, you did something wrong. We can talk as a family. Me talking about you behind your back is unnecessary. Me spreading your business to this one, that one is unnecessary. Me hollering at you without a just reason is unnecessary. Me cursing you and this and that is unnecessary. Sit down, talk, give nasiha, and also we must accept the nasiha. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to have good, strong family ties. Allahumma ameen. We ask Allah the Sublime and the Exalted to keep our hearts firm upon the religion of Islam until we die. Allahumma ameen. I will say this one thing, because we go on and on and on. It was only supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes. We go on and on and on. The point is that you guys should be appreciative for what you have. And you should be grateful for what you have. Because there are many people, or me myself, unfortunately, there are members of my family that I haven't seen in 5-6 years. Wallahi. There are cousins and aunts and uncles and nieces that I haven't seen in years. Sometimes it may be my fault. I may be too busy, unfortunately. Allah forgive me. Or I may be forgetful or heedless. Sometimes it's their fault. I call them, I go to them. They don't make themselves available. But you guys see your immediate family every single day of the week. 2, 3, 4 times out of the week you come over. Everybody doesn't live like that. Most of you, perhaps you haven't been outside of Guyana. Is everybody like that in New York City? Shake? Am I making this up? No. There are some families in which you do not see your mother maybe once or twice a month. This is unfortunate. So you guys know each other, see each other. What you must do is ask Allah to remove any bad feelings that you may have in your hearts for your Muslim family members. Any bad feelings. And know one thing for sure, you will not go to paradise. You will not enter Jannah until your heart is 101% clean of any bad feelings against your brother. As Allah says in the Quran, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِمْ مِنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلِينَ. Allah says, and we shall remove any ill feelings from their chests, any malice and rancor from their chests, and they will be brothers sitting upon thrones looking at each other. And the same applies to women. You can't go to paradise even if you prayed, you made hajj, you gave zakat, but you have something against your brother or your cousin or your grandmother or your grandfather. You're not going to go to paradise. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts and to bring us together upon that which pleases Him. I'm so sorry that I took too much of your time. Jazakumullahu khairan. If anybody has anything that they wish to add or comment on, or any questions on the topic or off the topic, now is the time. It's not from Islam to be shy to ask a question that's going to help you, because time is limited. Only Allah knows the next time, if there is enough next time, on which we'll be back together. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khairan.
That is too sharp, man.